Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Retro Shack and to the second part in our Apple LC475 series. Now, your eyes aren't deceiving you, that monitor is half clean, and that's kind of where we are with the whole machine at the moment. It's been an interesting journey to say the least. If you haven't seen the first episode, there's a link on the screen somewhere to pop off and watch that, and then come back and see where we're up to. I don't want to give too much away about what you're about to see, but I will prepare you. This is the Empire Strikes Back of this series. It doesn't really end well, but there is hope for the future. And as with all sagas, there are good things and bad things, and of course, the journey is half the fun. So let's crack on. A quick word from our sponsors, and we're underway. Here at the Shack, we'd like to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this video, my good friends at PCBWay. They'll be helping us out with our PCB fabrication needs and offer a very professional and high quality service for extremely reasonable prices. They can even populate your PCBs for you if you're tired of waving a hot iron around. There's a link to their website in the description where you can check out all of the amazing services they offer. Now back to the show. So let's take a little recap of what we were dealing with, and it's fair to say that I started off in a fairly upbeat mood. When I first unboxed the machine and set it up for photographs, everything looked in fairly good condition, very mucky and in dire need of a clean, but otherwise cosmetically very good. It was only when I opened up the base unit that the true horrors were revealed. There was corrosion everywhere, and the culprit of course was the dreaded PRAM battery. Further investigation revealed that the damage was limited to a small area of the mainboard, but had spread significantly to the area around the SCSI connector and the hard drive itself. The hard drive caddy had some of the worst corrosion I've ever seen in a computer, and at this point my hopes were fading fast. The RF shielding had completely corroded through in places and would have to be replaced. I'm not a classic Mac expert, but I did read somewhere that some classic Macs use the RF shielding as part of the ground plane, so I didn't want to do without one just in case. There followed hours and hours of scrubbing, reflowing, desoldering, resoldering, rescrubbing as many of the components and areas of the mainboard that I could realistically get to, and periodically testing for life, or at least some power flowing around the board. After almost 2 weeks of this, I decided enough was enough and that a different approach had to be taken. I got hold of another LC475 mainboard of the same revision, but it was also known not to be working. However, I suspected this would be an easier fix, and I at least had components I could transfer from one board to another. On this second board, someone had already bodged a job to replace the PRAM battery with a more modern non-leaking solution, so first order of business was to finish that job properly. Second job was a full recap of the board, and I'm leaving you to guess my methods for removing these types of caps, as I know it's an emotive subject. Let's just agree it's recapped, okay? So let's review what we're working with at this stage. New fan, £5 off eBay. Original floppy, untested at present. Original power supply, voltage output seems good. New speaker, £3 off eBay. I was very surprised at that. Original hard drive, untested at present, but with a new caddy, which was £20 off eBay. I was surprised at that also. Now, while I was waiting for parts to be delivered, I decided to take advantage of the unseasonably sunny weather and do a bit of retrobrighting on the case and keyboard, as the discoloration was quite severe. And I'm very happy to say that the gods of retrobrighting were very kind to me, and it turned out really nicely. Not quite back to its factory colour, but near enough that no one's ever going to notice. So now it's time to pop all of the new and old components back into the case with the lovely new RF shielding. I'm not even telling you how much that cost, because you'll think I'm mad, but as it all goes back in, I'm filled with a sense of anticipation. It's the familiar twinge of a mix of excitement and dread. It's a Franken Mac at this point, and we all know that the sum of the parts doesn't always add up to the whole, but let's give it a go. And I've got to say, I don't think I've ever been happier to hear a Mac chime, and that familiar mechanical sound of a SCSI hard drive spinning up. Now, at this point, I've got to admit that I'd been lulled into a false sense of security. I had a white background with nice curved edges and a mouse pointer waiting patiently in the corner of the screen for something to click on. I was hoping against hope that I'd get a familiar Mac OS screen popping up at any moment, but instead a floppy symbol with a question mark. Well, that's something, I guess. Well, Mac wants floppy, so me give Mac floppy, but first I had to buy some new old stock, as no one's made floppies for years, and then I needed to get myself a USB floppy drive in order that I could burn the Mac OS images to the media. To do this, I needed several things. Firstly, software to use to burn images to floppy, and after a lot of reading in user forums, I decided upon Retrobright, a program that essentially creates boot disks from suitable images. It works with USB floppy drives, and although Windows 10 isn't listed as a supported operating system, the program runs just fine. Next on the list was determining what version of Mac OS was needed for this Mac, and after a visit to everymac.com, it showed that anything from version 7.1 to 8.1 would work. However, most forums were suggesting that 7.5 was the way to go. So then I needed to find a set of those disks, which I did at the MacintoshrEpository.org, which is a great resource, and don't worry, no copyright is being broken here. Apple released this OS to the public free of charge a while ago. I set about burning all 8 disks to my new to me floppy disks, and each was written successfully with no errors. Happy days. And then, with an OS 7.5 install disk 1 in hand, I eagerly fed it into the floppy drive and switched her back on. Now, in an ideal world, the Mac would recognise the floppy drive and boot from that device, then allow me to install the OS on the hard drive, but unfortunately that didn't happen. I tried several disks but couldn't get it to read them, and I didn't have a spare Mac floppy drive. But then I thought, never mind, who wants to use floppies anyway? There are more modern solutions than this. So I grabbed my SCSI to SD card and dumped an entire Mac OS 7.5 image onto a properly partitioned SD card, and then followed all of the instructions to the letter, and it still wouldn't boot. Now, at this point I was starting to lose the will to live with this machine, and to be honest, I was considering just giving the whole thing a miss. I simply don't know enough about these machines to effect a full repair without spending even more money on spares that I may never use again. If only, I thought, if only I knew someone who could help. That's right kids, not Batman, Mac84 or Stephen. His channel I've been subscribing to for a while, and this guy knows everything there is to know about classic Macs. So I got in touch and said, are you up for the challenge? Stephen said, of course. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to package all of the components up and get them sent over to the other side of the pond in the good old US of A, where Stephen's going to do a live repair on this machine on his channel. And all being well, get it all repaired, put back together and sent back over to me, where I can conclude with all the happy stuff, the software and what we can do with it in today's world. We've agreed that the key things he'll need are the mainboard, I'll leave all the memory sticks in place just in case, the floppy drive, the hard disk and my SCSI to SD, and of course all the data cables just in case. So we'll pack these up, covered in lots of lovely bubble wrap, and get them on a plane over to Mac84. International shipping may take a while, and I'm not sure when he'll be able to get to this, but hopefully it won't be too long. I've left a link to the Mac84 channel in the description, and I've also added it to our channels tab. I'm really excited to see the episode and to see if our good old Frank and Mac can be brought back from the brink. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this second part of our Apple LC475 journey. As always, if you like the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications of new content. If you'd like to support the channel, hit the join button for details. And finally, please leave your comments, as we always love to read them. And that's all from me. So until next time in the shack, it's goodbye.